Hi there, welcome to our channel. I'm Vic.
I'm Nick.
And we're Envy Board Gaming. And today we're taking a look at Canopy Evergreen. This is a game designed by Tim Eisner. It's published by Weird City Games. It plays 1 to 4. Nick is going to go through how you play, and then we're going to give our reviews.
Hello all, welcome to the table. We are set up for a 2-player game of Canopy Evergreen. Here we are. Setup is a little bit different for different player counts, but this is the 2-player setup with our 3 pine cones out here. This game is about creating the most bountiful forest and seeing who wins after 3 rounds. In this game, rounds are indicated by running through this deck of forest cards. So I'm going to give you a gist of how you play. On your turn, you're going to do a few things in order. First, you're going to decide, this is optional, if you want any of these cards here. These are wildlife cards. They're going to give you endgame points sometimes. They're going to give you ongoing abilities. And they're going to cost you food. So you can see at the top right of cards, there's a food cost. That's going to be, this is our little player board right here. Food is going to be tracked on your left-hand side. Victory points will be tracked on your right-hand side. So you'll spend food to acquire these and add them to your tableau, sometimes giving you abilities. We already started with an ability. We happen to have the black bear ability. When we want to use abilities, you're going to have a token. So each animal has 1 ability card and a couple point cards. So we start with 1 ability card at random from the starters, and the black bear is one of those starters. Whenever I want to use this, I can set this on a pile, and this will operate with whatever the text says on the card. So these are starter wildlife cards. Those are indicated by this star at the top left. So the black bear could go out there. Anytime during my turn, that's optional. So your first choice is to, if you want to take any of these wildlife cards for that cost of the food. Your next thing you're going to do is you're going to look at the growth cone piles in order left to right and select 1 pile to add to your forest. When you do that, you're going to go ahead and look at it and decide, yes, I want to keep, no, I don't. Let's say you don't. When you don't, you're going to put this back face down and put a card on top of it. So now this becomes more lucrative, perhaps, for the next player. The same is going to go with this one. You're going to decide which one you want to keep. So I can never go back to this one unless I have an ability of some sort. You can never go back to the first one. So you're going to look at this and do the same thing, adding a card if you do not want it. So let's say you take this one. That's not a bad one to take because it will give you a set. So your turn is going to be over as soon as you replenish this. So we put our cards back on there. And you're going to have this in your tableau. These are going to score you at the end of a round. We'll go over what the cards all do. I'm just going through what your turn is going to look like. All right. And then you're going to add those cards. They're going to be forest cards. They're going to be tree cards. And you're going to collect those rewards for whatever you took. If you decide to pass on all of them, you're going to top deck and just live with whatever you get, pretty much. I guess you could decline that as well, but then you just forfeited your whole turn. When the deck runs out, though, you have no choice. When these are the last available, you'll have to take what's left. Okay, so let's go over what those cards do, because that's going to be the bulk of the game. So we have these forest cards. So this can give you a trunk or a root. You're going to put these out on the board. You're going to start with one, so let's just say that's the one I started with. You're going to pick where you want to go because these ecosystem tokens are placed out randomly. And we start wherever I want. So I can start here, wherever there's a tree, I can go ahead and start. But then when I draw, if I were to get this card, I can either place another root or grow what the root I already have. So let's just say I place another root. No big deal. I'll just place it there. The reason I place it there is because maybe I want these. So when I surround these, there's a chance I can get this ecosystem token. So that's what this does. Let's take a look at another one. This would be to top. So in order to top these trees, you're going to have to play a card like this, and you could then end a tree. So that will just go right here, slide in, and boom, you have a tree size 2. And that is going to score you 4 points because there's a times 2 right there. So 2 times 2, 4 points. Okay, that's what that does. We have cards that are instant. Like those were instant as well because you're doing something immediately when you take those cards. This one is two. You're going to get food. So if you have an odd number of huckleberry, you're going to get 1 food. If you have an even number, if this card puts you at even, an even number, 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever, you're going to get 3 food. So again, food is tracked right here. Those are instant. We have set ones. So here are 3 different set types. You just saw one in an example, which was this one. This one, you could potentially get a negative if you don't get any more Trillium, but it will give you points if you have more than one. By the way, I'm going to mention this. And you have a cheat sheet that shows you how many there are of everything. All right, we have cattail moss here. This is another set, so every 2 cattail moss, you're going to get 5 points at the end of a round. We're doing this stuff at end of rounds. Remember, there's 3 rounds. And same here. You can see how many you get, and that's going to determine how many points you get. Another card example, pine cone. So we set some cards at the start of the round. We have some cards that are set aside. At the end of the season, we're going to go ahead and see who, that's the first thing we do at the end of the season, is see who has any pine cones. And they're going to be able to take some cards that were set aside randomly at the beginning of the round and decide what they want to add to their tableau for the end of the round. We also have things like sun and rain that are going to give you points. It likes the combination. So whoever has the most is going to get points, and whoever has the second most will get points, 5 and 2. So you want those icons of sun and rain both. If I just had sun and no rain, I would get 0 points because I have no sets at all. And lastly, we have wildfire. Wildfire, you're going to have to lose cards based on how many. If you just get 1 wildfire at the end, or disease, there's a disease card as well if you're playing with more than 2 players. If you just have 1 of those, no big deal, but once you have 2, you're going to start losing cards. And those are the different types of cards. Now we can go to our board again and talk about these ecosystem tokens. So these add to your sets in certain situations. You can see there's the rain symbol that you know, and there's the huckleberry symbol right there. That's going to add to the number of those that you have. So now if I had this token and I got a huckleberry, it's an even number because I have 1 and then that one. That gives me 3 food instead of 1. So very handy to have any of these. There's the cattail. You know already that every 2 is 5 points at the end of the round. That would give me my start to 1 if I were to surround it. So let's talk about the way you get those. You have to surround the ecosystem, and it has to be 2 complete trees, one of which has to be at least 3 tall. So I'm not going to want to finish this tree right here because then I'll have to discard this. I did not have one at least 3 tall. I have a 2 finished, and if I finish this, I'll have another 2. That's worthless. I need this to be at least a 3. And that's how you get these tokens. They'll help you with sets, and they have different abilities out there as well. There's 2 variants that you can play. That's one of those that can give you an extra food and whatnot, and it adds to your sets all these other ones, including the rain and the sun. So another thing I'll mention, so we're going to play this 3 rounds. We're going through the deck. I think we're pretty good on gameplay. I'll mention something else about endgame scoring. That's chains. So you can see they have little symbols at the bottom left and bottom right. You're going to want to get chains to give you more points. In this case, I have this rock-looking thing right there, and I notice that if I were to get this rough-skinned newt, it actually matches one of those symbols, and that's going to cause a chain at the end of the game. The better your chain, the more points you're going to get. So right here, I have a chain of 2 because it matched this, and it's going around. And now I'm going to look for anything with a blue symbol that isn't the same one, and anything with this claw-looking symbol. So these get replenished immediately. And I can see that this salmon isn't going to help because it is actually identically, and so is this. I mean, this newt obviously is going to be the same as the newt. So let's look at this. This one will not help for the chain, but it will help for sets. So you can see this is identical symbols. So my chain is not impacted by this. However, you do get points for sets. And that is all on a cheat sheet as well for points. So right here, if you have a pair, 2 points. If you have a family, which is 3 or more, 5 points. So right there, if I were to acquire that salmon, I know that's going to give me at least 2 points, possibly 5, if I were to get this again, this newt. Again, that's going to cost food, and that's optional at the very first thing you decide on your turn. That gives you a little rundown of how you play. You're going to play those 3 rounds and see who wins. Vic and I are going to go back up top and tell you what we think.
All right, and we are back. Thank you, Nick, for the great overview of how you play this game. we'll start off by letting you know that we were provided a copy from the publisher of this game. So this wasn't something we backed on Kickstarter or bought from retail. We received it in the mail from the publisher.
Yeah, it was a game we were interested in trying. We got to play it with our other crew. Andrew and Sam got to play it as well. 4-player game, so we played it at 4. We played it at 2 multiple times as well. We played it at 4 with a couple other couples as well.
Yeah.
So this game has beautiful art. Vincent Dutrait does the art, as you pointed out. So right away, it looks great. The cards look great. The box looks great. It's a nature-themed game. We've covered quite a lot of nature-themed games, especially Andrew and Sam, who cover them readily. So yeah, it pops as far as the art and all that, and pretty good quality.
Yeah, I mean, right away when we took a look at the components, it's got a mix of cardboard chits. It's got wooden tokens to track on an individual player board, which are a little bit thin, but not too thin. And then, of course, there are 3-dimensional cardboard trees that you'll be able to make bigger and bigger. And then another thing that stood out right away is the cardboard game tray solution. So it's not game trays, but made storage solution is the word, really. It was nice to see that they thought of that, and it's a small box. It's not too big of a box, but that you can keep some parts pre-assembled with the trees, so you're not rebuilding all of the roots of the trees. And the card quality seemed fair.
Above average.
Oh, okay.
I think it's above average.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we didn't sleeve them or anything, but we can feel that they're pretty good. It's a good amount of cards to the game, and they have a good variety of animals as well.
Yeah. So you have the wildlife cards. If you're into the animals, you have the tree cards, the nature cards, the plant cards, I should say, that if you're into the plants. And so it has both worlds. So we're going to go into pros and cons right away. We have the art was a pro. Check that off. We have, I think the teach was pretty simple.
Yeah.
There are some things that you have to kind of gauge as far as, that scores end of round, that scores end of game. There's some of that. But in general, pretty simple. You're deciding if you want to buy an animal. In the wildlife, you're deciding which pile to take. Yeah.
And there is some depth in the game in that there are certain chain-offs that you're trying to accomplish at the end by getting a diversity of wildlife, but then there's also pairs that could score for getting families of the same animal. So there's different considerations you can have for at the end of the game when you're buying those wildlife with the food supply, what you want to do there. And everyone starts off with a unique ability with a starter spirit animal. So that's interesting as well.
Yeah, I agree. The decisions are good for what is a light game. I especially like what you mentioned about the wildlife considerations, that you're not just going for something based on its ability, but you're going through it maybe for a chain or a pair or a set.
Get
points that way. There's a lot of ways to get points. You can go for end round points. You can go for end game points, and they're both viable to me. So. It is a game that has decent choices considering how light it is, which is a big plus because you don't want a light game that plays itself. This one doesn't. You have your choices. You have your own. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but you have your own choices.
Own path really in the game. And speaking of choices, there's drafting in this game, which is a really nice, interesting. Inclusion in the game rather than just having people draw a card, which would be pretty Like you just draw a card, okay, decide if you want to keep it and pass. It's not quite like that. You're having the ability to say no to a pile. If you take a look at your first pile, do you want it? No. Add a card that's unseen, move to the next one, decide if you're going to keep it. It's almost like a push your luck, because at the end though, if you don't choose any of the available piles, being given the option to just draw a card and then you can choose to keep it. So you're not actually stuck with that final card. There's mitigation of like the disease and the wildfire. There is ways that you can mitigate that so you don't feel absolutely hopeless if you're getting those cards and that's just the luck of the draw and you're stuck with this and now the round's not going to be great for you. Interestingly, too, was that we noticed that the wildfire in particular, if another player is amassing a lot of wildfire, that's going to spread to you as well. So there's incentive sometimes to just like, I'll just take the bad with the good here,
Yeah.
so that my opponent doesn't just end up with a bunch of wildfire that's going to burn me.
Right.
Right?
And like you said, you can pass on ones, and those become usually better because you add a card to it.
Yeah.
So it incentivizes people in that way to take some pilots that were overlooked previously. You have plenty of abilities that you can acquire through the animals that you take, or you can just go a more simple path and just give you animals that give you points for doing certain things, or just straight out points to end the game. So there's a bunch of choices. Food is a little hard to come by, so you're going to make sure that you get the animals you want. You're not just spending for the sake of spending. So, there is a lot of pros. Let's go into, if you don't have anything else.
I just wanted to add, too, on your player board, there are little chits that are randomly assigned, and some won't be added in the game. It is a nice way to add to your end of round scoring if you know you're purposefully revealing tokens and saying, okay, I want to get I want to chain off and be able to unlock the water or the sun, or you're going to get a particular species of plant, and then that's going to incentivize you to maybe change your strategy on your drafting. So it's nice that they included those little bonus tokens between creating the trees on the player board too.
Yeah. All right. Any neutral negatives or anything?
I think that although I said there's a lot of cards, I want more cards.
For what, wildlife cards?
Yeah, I want more forest cards.
Okay.
I want to see more plants, maybe, or more things to score. I don't know. I just want more.
So you want the rounds that will last longer?
Yeah.
If there's more. Okay.
Yeah.
So you wish the game was a little longer?
Yeah, I want the game to be longer, but I get what it's trying to be. They say it's 20 minutes a player on the box.
Okay.
And I think they're not trying to be, overstay their welcome, but they can for me.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
You're saying that you like it, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to play it more.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have anything necessarily negative, but neutral. I guess the ecosystem tokens that you liked, I think, are a neutral. I guess the biggest issue is with new players. I felt like you got these tokens, and they weren't quite grasping, because it doesn't say it's supposed to be what it is. Like, you have to know that, okay, that's a huckleberry. So now I'm actually at an even, not an odd, because I got a card.
Right. There's
some things there that don't quite, unless you pay attention to the art of the thing you connected. And then you have to explain these little nitpicky rules, like you got to have it connected. And one of them has to be like 3. That's kind of like
right. There are some conditions.
Yeah, you can maybe. So this is a simple game. It would be nice if it was a little bit more streamlined. It's not crazy, but it is one of those things that you have to explain every time.
Yeah,
like, you got to connect them. You got to be finished. One of them has to be 3
yeah.
or more.
Right.
And then you can take it. If you don't, if you complete 2, and then that thing's discarded. So make sure you're doing that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, and what do they do? It's like, okay, well, they match the symbols, and then, So those, that's about it for me. That's not even necessarily a negative. It's just one kind of like neutral, meh type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think it was mostly a positive experience. A nice light game to add to the collection.
Yeah. I do have one other con in that if you get a spirit animal that's not as bomb as another one, there are some in the game, the bee. It's not that great, your bonus isn't that good. It's fun to be able to
and it helps other people.
Yeah, it's fun to be able to put out your once per round token, and there's even an ecosystem token that's going to reveal in the expansion as an advanced token that allows you to refresh and use your ability again. I didn't even want to use my bee ability because it was just going to help other people. So there are some, I think it's a little imbalanced in that way.
The starter.
And it's randomly assigned. So
I think it's just the bee.
Yeah, because there are other wildlife, though, that you can get that have abilities. So that is a saving grace, is that you can still get another ability animal.
And the bee is just too situational that you might use it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is probably, that would be considered a negative, is just that one thing. That bee is in balance with the rest, as far as we're concerned. And it was pretty much unanimous in everyone we played. So
yeah.
That's about it. So we can go to scores.
Yeah, go ahead. So I'm going, I said go ahead, but then I'm going to go. I give this one a 7.8. For the game that it is, being a filler game or a light game, this is not a game that you're going to spend your whole evening playing, but it's nice in between to break up some heavy sessions of games. It's relaxing to draft cards, make those choices, and you can, casually play the game in a nice way. So I do enjoy it.
Nice. We're pretty close. I gave it an even 8, so we're at a 7-9 combined. Very nice score for what is a lighter game than what you're typically playing, but we do have these in our collection because they fit a certain time and place. So Canopy Evergreen was a big thumbs up for this genre for us. 7-9 combined, magnifico.
And it has animals,
Yes.
which we love. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please click the like thumbs up and subscribe for more great reviews. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.